When I first started doing this work, I would get burned out really easily. And it was almost like my vessel wasn't strong enough to handle the energy that was running through me. And for quite a while, probably 2019, 2020, some of 2021, and maybe even running into 2022 a little bit, but not really. It was mainly 2019 to 2021. I didn't understand what was happening. And when I was first working with these energies, I would get really keyed up or I'd get really charged by the energies and burn out. And then because I was resistant to resting, I'd be operating on a low battery and just sort of coasting without really getting any traction because, again, I just wouldn't rest and I wouldn't recuperate. And this all played into the fact that I didn't understand what was happening. And if I had trusted my intuition more at that time, I would have understood that I needed to rest because the guides are always whispering. But I thought I knew. I was still much in the I don't know, and my subconscious fears driving the ship. I still have subconscious fears, and there's still that energy at play, but I've released a lot of it. So back then, I was operating out of a lot of unconsciousness, even though I was waking up. And I think that's an important thing to remember when getting started with our intuition and really working with the ethereal energies that it's sort of, you know, a rite of passage to go through it and get it wrong and not even get it wrong because it is part of the process of learning and mastering, but understanding that it's okay to begin where we are. And even if we get to a point we look back and we're like, oh, I had it all wrong, or I was really misunderstanding, or oh, this was what was happening, this is what I was doing that wasn't serving me, that's okay. That's actually a necessary part of the process, and it's a necessary part of the learning process. And we go through stages where we can look back on things we believed not too long ago and be like, well, I actually don't believe that anymore. I've grown, I've expanded past that. And we can do that once we get to a certain place without judgment, with the understanding of, okay, yeah, I didn't quite understand then, but I understand now, and I see the value of having to go through that process the way I did. And even for me, I understand now why I had to go through it because it helped me understand certain things about how things work, which in turn helps me help others. And that's important when we're learning in general. It doesn't matter what aspect of life or what, area we're learning about. When we go through it ourselves, we have that wisdom then to help others along the way. And I think that's an important thing to remember. So that we don't get too caught up in judging ourselves, don't get too caught up in not getting started in the first place because we're afraid to get things wrong. It's actually very healthy to get things wrong, and beginning and experimenting and trial and erroring is actually quite supported. And the guides love when we do this because that means that we have the willingness to listen and we have the willingness to learn, and they're able to access us more even if we're still caught up in our ego. They can then bring in the lessons to loosen those things up and bring us into a healthier relationship with ourselves. And I don't know who needs to hear this. I'm just going to throw this out there, but it's important not to get too caught up in getting things wrong or judging ourselves. And it's very, very beautiful to begin where we are and to be in that beginner energy and to do it for the love of it, not to do it, for any sort of approval either, or any sort of, superficial means other than just for the love of it and even the curiosity, and to be curious enough to enter these energies and to see what we're capable of when it comes to these ethereal realms and the intuition and how much information and what kind of information we can access. And it's a years long process that we have to go through in order to get to a more and more masterful place. And as we enter those new tiers and we start to up level, it's actually a really beautiful, beautiful feeling. And we're encouraged right now, especially in a Neptunian year, to really play with our intuition and to really get experimental and to do that trial and error so that we don't, find ourselves when we're already seeing it, the world is getting more and more chaotic, that we don't find ourselves lost or, afraid trying to escape something, that there's actually information and lessons and gifts in the present moment in our intuition if we can slow down enough. And part of that, again, is to be in the process of beginning to build trust with ourselves in that inner relationship, which is a relationship with the divine. So I'm sending love and wishing you well. Bye.